One of the things that really spoke to me when we started planning for training your team to administer the survey, um, and when I observed how you introduce your team to the survey, is that you model the experience for
Mm.
them, right? I thought that was genius. I thought it was actually very hard to do it virtually and to do it with adults, right? To simulate a survey where you are a 5-year-old online, it was very, I don't know. I thought it was very challenging, but you did great because you really set the stage for this is how your kids are going to feel. Um, so I would love to discuss a bit and hear from you. Why do you think it was so important to model the experience and to put your team in that in your kids' shoes before they went into the field?
Okay. Well, what's interesting, it actually is in part due to the things that we've learned over the years through the partnership with Hello Insight. Like some of the biggest takeaways that we've learned about supporting our staff, and specifically with training, is that the more confident our staff are, the more confident our kids are in the ways that we hope for them to grow. And so we really prioritize experiential learning for young people. And so in all of our staff development, we really lean in as much as possible for doing over theory and talking about the doing. We're obviously including those things as well. The why is really important, but just getting our hands into it. And so modeling in all things is our approach, modeling and then reflecting. And so we'll model an experience, we'll talk about that experience, we'll ask them to mirror back for us, what did we just do? Why do you think we just did what we did? How did it feel for you to do what we just did? And how do you imagine the young people you know would feel about what we just did? Um, and we're really intentional about like that line of questioning often. I know it's not needed, and I know it's not needed in the same way for the older students, but this is all they need. Handing them this and showing them how to use it, the script, even when it just says the exact same thing that the picture says, it's really helpful. And I can't guarantee that just sending an email to someone or just sending a message saying, print this and ask them these questions about reflecting, that when they get into the classroom in that moment, they're going to be reflecting. And so if they're holding a piece of paper that's already so useful to keep the kids engaged, that like there's a double use, I think that's really genius.
Did anybody in your team come back to you with concerns, questions, challenges? I don't know how to do this. I didn't understand this. Or when I was administering the survey, this question came up, etc.
Yeah, so the things that they noticed immediately and in all of the sessions came up as something that folks asked about, and then also were feedback after, was not about the administering. Like once we had modeled it, they felt okay to do it, and I'd say they all did a good job at that. It was content, certain statements. The three that were the four that were the most notable. Kindergartners don't know their birthday.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what month they were born. Some folks had a variety of questions about gender, which probably just mirrors the political climate that we're in right now, perhaps. And then the two, like really about content, the word greet is one that we had to just coach folks through. Like, do you have a way in which you welcome young people into the room? is there a routine that you start the class with? Is there some kind of way in which you make sure that young people know their name? And the image of the on that question, we would just point to that, like, notice that big frog is waving their hand. What does that mean? And then play. And because play is so important to us, the word play is really important to us as an organization. But for example, on the image, the teacher and student are playing like chess. And so play in the image is a board game.
Yeah.
And for us, we want young people to know that play means using our imagination and enjoying using art supplies and feeling proud about like getting on stage and presenting a thing, or the ways in which we work on a project together with our classmates and it feels fun. I enjoy. And so there's like an association with outside of school time, like playground or play date or games. And so the inclination might be to say no. I haven't looked at the responses, so I'm curious to see the data with you and see if like how those words play landed.
That's a great question. Well, you know, in talking to other people, somebody had a really interesting suggestion, which is part of the administration kit could be to have a spreadsheet with kids' birth months, just so you can either support on the spot or after you make those choices for kids. And I'm going to repeat this because this is a recording and other people are going to see it, and we talked about this, but the information about month we use as a way to identify and create unique records for each young person. And so it's hard to think that they all are going to have very reliable and accurate responses to a question, but it's important for technical reasons more than more than the survey. Let's
ways in which we did problem solve for that is when we're surveying in our comprehensive programs, we have student applications, so we know their birthday, and so we did create a roster and give that to the teacher. But like right now, I'm preparing some of our residency teachers to do the same thing, and they're working during the day. They don't have that information. So I told them, yes. I said, like, ask them what season they remember their birthday is. And I hope that's okay. But that was the advice that I've been giving to my staff this week, knowing that.
Are they doing online surveys? No? Okay, so being paper is something, that you can check later. In fact, there's one person who used the roster. They ended up taking some notes on the back side of the survey to make sure that they knew more or less who was who, so that they could then go and look at the roster. I wanted to focus on the word play because I think this is going to vary a lot across programs. So for school-based programs, it's going to mean something. For arts-based programs like yours, it's going to mean something else. Did you have to agree with your team on how to frame the word play? Meaning, tell kids that, hey, when we use the word play, we mean when we do X, Y, and Z.
Like I said, it does mean a lot to us. And we had several training sessions much earlier in the year where we were talking about joy and how that is an engagement strategy, that we are actively seeking joyful experiences for our kids, and not just because it makes it fun after school, but because it's good teaching. And when they saw that word play, we said, if you've been doing this thing that we prepared you to do several months ago, maybe they're having the experience, but are you reflecting with the students during program to find out if they're connecting that dot, that like this fun moment was playing theater. We were playing music. We were and so we have a lot of different types of experiences. And so yes, our lens is art making, but our staff are all teaching very, very different things. So I can see your point and like why you know, that you need this to apply across a lot of different types of moments, and that applies to us as well. Like we really are thinking, like play for my dance instructor and the ways in which they might talk with the students about play and dance will be very different from how I would as a visual artist, and like the things that I think of as play with paint. And so it came up earlier than when the surveys happened. We did the training about a month before the surveys were actually administered. And so they had at least 3 or 4 moments of like actual activity with them to like weave in the word play, and then like questions about it if they hadn't been already.
If tomorrow you met someone at a different organization in your same role or in your same sort of general position, right? What is one thing that you would tell them about this tool in preparing their teams to use this tool?
Enthusiasm and confidence. As the person leading it, there's a great deal of anxiety that program staff have around the idea of evaluation, not just at each level. And in my role, I'm most frequently combating anxiety about evaluation and how to help folks feel more comfortable with the idea of it. And so having a perspective, a really positive, collaborative mindset that this is, we're not going into the minutia, we're looking big picture, we're in the balcony, we're not on the dance floor. We're looking at the whole scene, and like there's a lot that we can learn, and that like young people sharing what they think, if we can center that as where we're going or decisions that we're making, then like that's what this is about. So like you know, if I can really confidently and positively talk about how exciting it is to learn from young people, I think it creates the impression in a real visceral way that like I'm not judging you, the adult and the teacher or the program leader. And so it's a real aggressive, even like positive direction that like this is all about the young people and how they can feel heard. I'll even share that like Diego, you and I had a really important conversation about the demographics and like the language around race and some of the language there. And that came out of young people having spoken up to their teacher about their experience. Right. And since our conversation, I've had I felt empowered to tell my staff the example that young people raise the issue about the content of something in the survey. The folks that are leading this research heard young people and are considering making change. And so that's where this goes. And that's made a difference, I think. Even just knowing that the door is open for like that level of conversation. That's how important what these young people have to say is, that they could even question what was on it. And we considered that a thing to make happen. And so I like thank you for the chance to like talk about that and to like center their voices in that way. And it's empowered me to use that experience as an example for what good this work is doing. And I think that eases some things.